In this lesson, we're going to discuss what is the board audit function. This audit function is the third of the key board responsibilities we're discussing in this series. The word audit here should not be confused with a financial or CPA audit, which is something required of larger organizations. But the board audit of the key employee and senior executive and officer function. This is a significant part of what boards do in making sure that the management that is on the job daily, while the board is only meeting occasionally, is actually being carried out effectively. What we're going to talk about here is not so much detailed minutia of how to carry this out, but rather just a general approach to the mindset involved in the audit. And for this, as I've mentioned in an earlier lesson, our mantra that we like to follow is one introduced by President Ronald Reagan: trust but verify. He was talking about something other than board management, but it's a really significant part of the mindset that boards should have when dealing with their chief officers. They should trust the officers. After all, that's why they put them in that position in the first place. If they don't trust the officers, they should remove them and do so fairly quickly. You want to have in place those that you consider to be highly competent in carrying out the work. Notwithstanding that, it is the role of the board to verify that those things are being done, not because it doesn't trust the executives, but because this is the board's job. Their assessment of how the key officers are doing is a vital part of boards carrying out their function. In carrying this out, they should have a mindset or frame of reference for how their chief executives and key employees that are being audited carry this function out. It is undeniably the case in every situation that this is not an experience that your executives are going to find enjoyable to go through. Nobody, when they are running an organization, confident they're doing well, will say, "I can't wait until I justify my behavior before the board." It's just simply one of those things that must be done, and it's not necessarily the most enjoyable in all circumstances. In light of this, we recommend that boards show a degree of regard for the challenge of the situation and take the initial role. They shouldn't leave it up to the chief executive to come to them and say, "Hey, I think it's time for you to evaluate my behavior." Rather, the board should set up as a regular annual activity with the possibility, if there are problems, of revisiting this more often than once a year, but to look at the essential issues that the chief executive and the staff, volunteers, other agents that are involved in carrying out the function are carrying on. If there's been a significant departure in the past, that should be examined very carefully and slowly this time around. If there are significant deviations from the 10-year plan, the 3-year plan, and the budget, those should be looked at carefully as well. But this function is not a sign that the board does not trust the chief executive. It's simply carrying out its task of making sure that everything is being done correctly. And if it sees any deficiencies or things that would be best served by change, to address those then. That's pretty much all I have to say on the topic of this case, because so much of it depends on a case-by-case basis on what each individual organization is facing. But the essential element to make sure that everybody carries this function out the way that it should be carried out is to recognize that auditing the work of highly talented employees is not a sign of mistrust. Rather, it's a carrying out of those responsibilities that should be carried out as part of the dynamic of the leaders of tax-exempt organizations being accountable to a body, not just to themselves.